I deported my husband. I didn't just divorce him. I put him on a plane back to the trenches he'd crawled out of, and I slept like a baby the night he left. They're still arguing about me at church. On the left side of the sanctuary, the women in lace gloves and big hats lower their voices when I walk by. Demon, Jezebel, wicked woman. On the right side, the quiet ones who hug their purses to their chests just nod at me a little too long, like they're saying, if it was me, they'd have done worse. Maybe you're already typing some judgment in your head too. Before you do, you should know what this man did to me. My name is Sarah. I'm a registered nurse in Houston, Texas. My life smells like antiseptic and burnt coffee. 12-hour shifts on my feet, double shifts when someone calls out. I work holidays. I miss birthdays. I've had elderly men cuss me out while I hold the bedpan under them. I've had patients grab my wrist and beg me not to let them die. Every paycheck, I would sit at my dining table, a big warm, echoing house that felt like a museum most nights, and divide the money into stacks: mortgage, car note, savings, Western Union for mom, and the little envelope with his name on it, Michael. That's where the lawyer's fees came from. The filing fees, the medical exam, the flights, the K-1 visa process that turned my life into a waiting room. I met Michael 3 Christmases ago back home. They'd flown across an ocean to be the dutiful daughter, to sit in my mother's living room, eat jollof and fried plantain, pretend I wasn't exhausted, pretend I wasn't coming apart quietly from the inside. He walked into my mother's compound like he owned the sun. Tall, that easy kind of handsome, a white shirt that fit just right. He had that smooth, lazy accent that curled around his words like it knew it was dangerous. And when he laughed, really laughed, people looked up from their phones. He was a struggling engineer, he told me later. Smart, degree in hand, but no real opportunities. The usual story. America, he said one night, when we were standing outside and the generator hummed in the background. America is where I can really become something. Over here, they just want brides. Over there, they reward hard work. He said hard work like a vow, and I wanted to believe him. I was 32. My friends were posting maternity shoots and first day of school pictures. I had a 4-bedroom house, an overworked uterus, and a growing suspicion that my life might always be filled with strangers' emergencies, but never my own family. So when Michael leaned close, his breath warm with malt and spice, and said, "Baby, if you just get me to the States, I will treat you like a queen. I will work so hard. I will build us an empire." I let myself fall. I flew back to Houston with his promises folded up next to my passport. The next year blurred into notarized forms, requests for evidence, phone calls scheduled around time zones. I learned the language of USCIS. I learned the cost of hope, about $15,000, give or take, and a piece of your sanity. When I stood at George Bush Intercontinental Airport waiting for him, my heart was beating so loudly I could hear it in my ears. Then he came through those double doors, wheeling a small suitcase, looking around like a kid at a carnival. "Baby," he shouted when he saw me. I didn't even care people were staring. I ran to him. He lifted me off the ground, spun me in a circle like we were in some cheap romantic movie. I cried into the side of his neck, breathing him in. Sweat, space, jet fuel, future. This is it, I thought. My life is beginning. For 6 months, he was perfect. I mean, textbook perfect. He woke up with me at 5 a.m. He made my coffee just how I liked it, 2 sugars, a little too much creamer. He'd come home from a hellish 12-hour shift, and the house would smell like stew or grilled chicken or jollof. My laundry would be folded. The bathroom would be scrubbed till it shone. He rubbed my feet while I charted on my laptop. He'd kiss my toes, "Reverend, you are my angel," he would say. "You saved me from that place." We went to the courthouse and signed papers. I wore a simple white dress. He wore a navy suit that made his shoulders look even broader. We took photos under a cloudy Texas sky. I remember thinking even the overcast light looked like blessing. We filed his adjustment of status paperwork. More evidence, more fees, more letters. A thick envelope sent off like a bottled message to the government. A few months later, we got the notice: interview scheduled. It was 1 sheet of paper, but it felt like a passport stamp to our forever. The Sunday before the interview, I took an extra shift. Nurses are always needed. Our lives are scheduled around other people's pain. By mid-afternoon, a migraine was crawling over my skull, the kind that makes light hurt. I clocked out early, drove home in a haze, the radio low, the AC blowing too cold on my face just to keep me alert. The house was quiet when I pulled into the driveway. Too quiet for someone who loved his Afrobeats playlist as much as Michael. No TV murmuring. No clang of pots from the kitchen. Michael, I called, dropping my bag on the hall table. No answer. I slipped off my shoes, padded down the corridor. As I neared the bedroom, I heard his laughter, light, familiar, but threaded with something I'd never heard before. He was on a video call. That wasn't unusual. He FaceTimed his cousins and friends often. But the way he was talking fast, sharp, and pidgin made me pause outside the door. Michael usually spoke to me in crisp, careful English, the kind he'd practiced. The pidgin I now heard was a different animal, loose, easy, unguarded. I leaned closer, migraine forgotten. Don't worry, babe, he said, laughter bubbling under his words. The Maga no suspect anything. My heart stopped. Maga, where I come from, that word is poison. It means fool. It means prey. It means the person you're milking while you send the real love of your life money back home. The Maga doesn't suspect anything, he repeated slower now in English. The interview is next week. Once I get that green card in my hand, I give it 6 months. Then I file for divorce, claim irreconcilable differences. By next year, I file for you and the kids to come over. America is sweet, babe. Just calm down and be patient. For a moment, I forgot how to breathe. On the phone, a woman's voice crackled through, faint but clear. We miss you, Daddy. Junior asks for you every day. My stomach clenched. Tell Junior Daddy is working on his future, Michael said, his voice softening in a way it had never softened for me. This woman is just the ladder. You are the owner of the house. Just the ladder. The words went through me like a cold knife. I saw myself suddenly from above, the hard-working nurse breaking her back, the big quiet house, the wire transfers, the cooking, the toe kisses. The long forms had filled out where I promised the U.S. government that I would be financially responsible for this man for 10 years. A ladder. I didn't kick the door open. I didn't shout. There was a strange, icy stillness that settled over me, like my body had stepped aside and something clinical had taken over. I backed away from the bedroom door, walked down the hallway like I was in someone else's house, picked up my shoes, took my car keys off the table without a sound. I drove to the first coffee shop I saw. I sat in a corner booth, migraine pounding at the base of my skull, hands trembling around a paper cup of black coffee I barely tasted. Around me, strangers tapped on laptops, laughed into cell phones, spooned sugar into cups, lived lives that, for all I knew, were real. I replayed his words in my head. Maga, ladder, 6 months, a real wife, real kids. I thought of the nights I'd stumbled home, so exhausted I couldn't see straight, how he'd taken my bag and my shoes, run bathwater for me, pressed hot food into my hands. I thought of the way his face looked when he told me, I thank God for you every day, Sarah. You saved me, saved him for someone else. The grief didn't come first. The humiliation did. I saw the faces of my coworkers, the ones who'd teased me for meeting a man on vacation. My mother, beaming in a WhatsApp video when I'd shown her our marriage certificate. My church friends, saying, see, God's time is the best. I stayed in that booth for 3 hours. By the time the coffee was cold and my headache had tunneled into a dull, insistent ache, the tears had dried on their own. I was empty, and in that emptiness, a small, hard decision formed. I drove home. He was in the living room, feet up, watching a soccer match. He muted the TV when I came in, his eyes soft. Baby, you're back early. Are you okay? I had a migraine, I said. I'm better now. The room kissed my forehead. You worked too hard. Come, I made pepper soup. It will help. I smiled. I let him feed me. I laughed at the commentator's bad jokes. I leaned against his shoulder. That night, I made love to my husband. The next morning, while he was at the gym, I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and a mug of tea that went untouched. I opened the USCIS website. The form to withdraw sponsorship isn't glamorous. It doesn't care about tears or betrayal. It just asks for fax name, a number, case number, reason for withdrawal. In the box asking for explanation, I wrote a letter. I told the officer that I, Sarah Ademi, no longer wished to sponsor my husband, Michael Ademi, for permanent residency. That information had come to my attention indicating that the marriage was entered into for the primary purpose of obtaining an immigration benefit, that I could not in good conscience continue to support his application. I did not write about the latter. I did not write about being called a MAGA. I did not write about Junior. I hit print. I signed the letter with a steady hand. I scanned it. I uploaded it. I mailed a hard copy for good measure. I did not tell Michael. On the morning of the interview, he woke up humming. He wore his best suit, same navy one from our courthouse wedding. He'd pressed it the night before. His tie was a deep red that made his smile look even brighter. "Ready to make us official, baby?" he asked in the mirror, adjusting his collar. "We're already official," I said lightly, smoothing the front of my dress. "This is just paperwork." We drove to the USCIS office in near silence, a gospel station murmuring low in the background. I watched his reflection in the window, how he kept checking his hair, practicing polite smiles. The waiting room was clinically beige, like all government waiting rooms. Families huddled together, some holding hands. A toddler fussed with a plastic truck on the floor. A man in a suit scribbled in the margins of a form. The air tasted like fear and hope. They called his name. "Michael Ademi?" We both stood. I grabbed the folder containing our photos, our joint bank statements. Our wedding certificate had evidence of a life it just quietly set on fire. But instead of an immigration officer in a tie appearing at the doorway, two ICE officers stepped forward. Their uniforms were dark. Their faces were politely bland. "Mr. Ademi?" one asked. Michael's shoulders stiffened. "Yes. Can we see your ID, sir?" He handed over his passport, his driver's permit, his hands suddenly not so steady. I watched the officer glance at the documents, then at his tablet. "Mr. Ademi," the officer said, "your adjustment of status petition has been withdrawn by your sponsor. Your K-1 visa has expired. You are currently out of status in the United States." Michael blinked. "What? No. There must be mistake. My wife is right here. We have interview." She filed everything. The second officer spoke calmly. "Sir, you are being taken into custody for immigration proceedings. You have the right to contact an attorney. Please come with us." He turned to me then, confusion and dawning horror swirling in his eyes. "Sarah?" His voice broke on my name. "Sarah, what is going on?" I stood up slowly. I smoothed the front of my dress with both hands, more for something to do than out of any need. "I am not a liar, Michael," I said quietly, so only he could hear. "And this MAGA has closed the band." For a beat, he just stared at me, not understanding, or refusing to. Then the memory hit him. You could see it. The way his face shifted, the way his mouth opened and closed soundlessly. "Sarah, please," he started, taking a small step toward me. The officer touched his arm. "Sir, you need to come with us." His voice climbed in pitch. "Sarah, baby, please. We can talk about this. Please, don't do this. I love you. Don't." The metal of the handcuffs clicked. Every head in that waiting room turned. I picked up my purse. I left the folder full of evidence on the plastic chair. I walked out under flickering fluorescent lights, my heels clicking on institutional tile, his voice echoing behind me. "Sarah? Sarah?" The Texas sun punched me in the face when I stepped outside. I put on my sunglasses. My hands were steady as I unlocked my car. He is in a detention center now, waiting for the inevitable. The calls started that evening. First his mother, then his brother, then a cousin. Numbers I recognized, numbers I didn't. They rang and ran. When I stopped answering, the messages began. Voice notes in a chorus of accents, a righteous outrage. "You are heartless, Sarah. How can you do this to another human being? You call yourself a Christian? Where is forgiveness? God will judge you. Don't forget. One day you will need mercy too." They sent me Bible verses. Long, scrolling screenshots of Ephesians and Matthew. Links to sermons about grace. One auntie sent a photo of me and Michael cutting the small cake at our courthouse wedding with the caption, "God is watching you." Then the DM came. Her profile picture showed a woman in a simple dress standing in front of a concrete house with two children at her side. The children's hair was neatly braided. The boy wore a shirt a size too big. Her message was short. "Good evening, Sister Sarah. My name is Amina. I am Michael's wife. Please don't be angry. I just beg you in the name of God, have mercy for the sake of the children. They are innocent." Junior cries for his father. "Please, my sister." I am on my knees. I stared at the screen for a long time. Wife, not girlfriend, not baby mama. Wife. I set my phone down on the table next to my half-finished glass of red wine. The house hummed softly around me, the refrigerator cycling on, the AC whispering through the vents, the quiet buzz of my own blood in my ears. I felt nothing. No rush of satisfaction. No vindictive joy. No sharp stab of regret. Just a wide, flat calm. Once upon a time, I would have bent myself in half to make sure everyone else was okay. I would have rationalized. At least he loves. The kids didn't do anything wrong. Maybe I overreacted, but I had paid every bill on that house. I had stood in every hallway of that hospital. I had signed every line on those immigration forms. I was the one who lay awake nights wondering if he'd made a mistake bringing him here. I was the one who would have been on the hook for him for a decade if he failed. I was the one he called a ladder, the one he laughed about on video calls. I am the one who has to live in this skin, in this house with this story. So I poured myself another glass of wine. I sat at my dining table, the same one where it once counted out stacks of money for his future, and I listened to the silence. It wasn't empty anymore. It was mine. Did I go too far? Maybe to some people, yes. Maybe I crossed a line they believe should never be crossed, no matter the sin, the line between punishment and destruction. Should I have just divorced him and let him stay? Let him stay and build an empire on my broken back. Let him stay and file quickly for the real wife and kids while people in my community whispered that I was so unlovable my husband replaced me in 6 months. Let him stay and have the law treat our marriage as real when he had treated it as a ticket. Or did he get exactly what he ordered? He wanted America. He wanted a clean path. He wanted to use me as a stepping stone, a ladder, a fool. He forgot that ladders can be pulled away. I don't know what judgment you'll pass on me, sitting wherever you are reading this. People see deportation as an abstract thing until you're the one signing the letter that pushes the first domino. Until you're the one sitting at the kitchen table thinking, if I don't protect myself, no one else will. All I know is this. I worked hard for my peace to let a squatter live in it. So I sit in my quiet house at the edge of Houston, the sky big and bruised with evening, a glass of wine in my hand. The dishwasher hums. My phone lights up with another message I won't open. Somewhere, on a cot behind chain link and fluorescent lights, a man who called me MAGA is thinking about ladders. And for the first time in a long time, I sleep through the night. Follow me for more interesting stories such